last flood that affected back in Tuvalu was a very sad story to hear. We hear of things like graveyards being turned up and dead bodies being seen around with dead animals. I really feel sad. Yes, and people, I mean, it's a flat land. The only place to escape is to climb up a coconut tree.
Climate change is a stark reality facing many Pacific Island countries. Changing landscapes, unusual weather patterns, and food security are some of the challenges vulnerable communities across the Pacific are having to come to terms with. Adaptation or mitigation strategies are now being put in place, but countries in the Pacific are fast realizing that these may not be enough.
Whatever we do, we'll never be able to accommodate the current level of population, let alone any increase in population. And so we have to accept that reality. And so in doing so, we would have to understand that some of them have to be relocated. Okay? And so we are providing options for those that want to migrate now as a matter of choice to do so as worthwhile citizens. We are providing training. We want to provide upskilling so that they will be skilled and can apply to different countries, beginning from yesterday, to seek migration status on merit.
All options must be on the table. And of course, the option of migration should not be closed off to my people. And they are given a free, totally freedom to explore those options if they so wish, in the interest of their families and their communities. But this is not an excuse for us not to continue to seek proper global actions by the world community.
It's the most vulnerable and the poorest that suffer most, and there is a very strong gender dimension which has to be brought out. The fact that women find it more difficult, have huge problems that are different from the problems that men face, and I think we have to recognize that there is a gender dimension to almost all climate action and inaction.
It was quite a hard decision to leave our loved ones and move to a foreign place with a different culture and different things to see. But yes, like we are so blessed that they made a good decision, a very wise decision. They see beforehand that there should be a change. And now we're here in Fiji, but our heart is with our people back in Tuvalu.
The Pacific Climate Change and Migration Project is funded by the European Union and implemented by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, in partnership with the International Labour Organization and the United Nations Development Programme. The idea behind the project is the strengthening of Pacific Island countries' ability to address the impacts of climate change on migration and to strengthen national capacity to use labour migration as a way to adapt to the impacts of climate change.
The link between migration and climate change is very important. I think we all know that from many Pacific countries there are migrants who leave to seek employment opportunities, to seek to have a better income for them and their families. They're starting to leave not only for economic reasons, they're starting to leave because their very futures are threatened by climate change, by rising waters. So the phenomenon of migration is going to become, I think, more and more significant in the Pacific. So the reason that we're supporting this program here is to help prepare our partner governments best for migration.
The project is very important because having the knowledge, having the evidence, having the real picture of what people are thinking, what people worry about, what people aspire for, is important for policy making, but also to generate some discussions and debates. This is, of course, a very painful topic. It's a sensitive topic, but it must be spoken about because what I think policymakers are realizing more and more is that there needs to be preparedness and it's better to do that sooner rather than be caught unprepared. So in terms of building people's skills and thinking through what would be a reasonable way to support migration as a measure, this kind of research is extremely important.
So it's very important that we understand the cultural realities, and by culture I mean simply the way we think and the way we behave. A very simple definition of culture. It's very important that we understand cultural realities on which we then formulate policies that are more relevant. That is the challenge for the project such as this that looks at changing the way people behave and the way people relate to each other in order for them to be able to cope with climate change.
I think these projects on migration is really working good on that and helping us provide data, updated data and information that is available, options that are available are extremely important for the human face of it. So to help the government of Tuvalu help our people. And we are very grateful that the ASCAP, the POC office here, with the help of the European Union, is helping in this way. Certainly, I think it can also be a very important link to coordinate other projects in response to climate change.
For those at the front line, whose very lives depend on how the world deals with the issue of climate change, a lot is certainly at stake. Assimilation of culture, tradition, languages, a new home, and a new way of life are just a few of the many challenges that emerge beyond the horizon.
We really beg these political leaders, the big leaders of this world to make a change, to stop all this carbon. Really a big problem to us here in Tuvalu, in the Pacific, especially Tuvalu. If they can all work together and see the small islands to do something about it.
And as the world approaches the crucial COP21 climate conference in Paris this December, Pacific Island leaders are hopeful that a meaningful agreement will finally be adopted to lay the foundation for urgent and adequate global actions on climate change. The Paris conference may well decide the fate of Pacific Islanders and those at risk of possible extinction from climate change.
A legally binding agreement was long overdue. I think it's important for the rest of the global community. We're on the front line. No matter whether a legally binding agreement comes into place, we as a country, on the basis of the science, we will be underwater by the century. We are the example of why a legally binding agreement is so necessary. We are the canaries in the coal mine.